So you do the same for C and also D. You do the same for C and also D. In the same way we have done those A and B. So now we repeat the same. So all of them are inefficient. All of them are inefficient. So all of them are meant to be inefficient. So let us now write something brief about limitations of the portfolio theory. So we can now look at the limitations or disadvantages. Limitations or disadvantages of the portfolio theory. The limitations or disadvantages of the portfolio theory. Limitations or disadvantages of the portfolio theory. So we are just outlining them. We shall just outline them. So one of the limitation is that it deals with the total risk or business risk. It deals with the total risk or business risk. The total risk or business risk as measured by the standard deviation of the portfolio. It deals with the total risk or business risk as measured by the standard deviation of the portfolio. As measured by the standard deviation of the portfolio. However, in practice, some risk is minimized. However, in practice, some risk is minimized by holding the portfolio. However, in practice, some risk is minimized by holding the portfolio. Some risk is minimized by holding the portfolio. By holding the portfolio. Then number two is that it uses historical data. It uses the historical data to analyze the portfolio. It uses the historical data to analyze the portfolio. To analyze the portfolio, and the probabilities assigned to each outcome are subjective. And the probabilities assigned to each outcome are subjective. And the probabilities assigned to each outcome are subjective. Then number three is that it assumes that there are no economies of scale. It assumes that there are no economies of scale. It assumes that there are no economies of scale. There are no economies of scale. There are no economies of scale under that the expected returns of the portfolio, under that the expected returns of the portfolio, under that the expected returns of the portfolio is the weighted average. Expected return of the portfolio is the weighted average, of the individual securities. The weighted average of the individual securities expected returns. It is the weighted average of the individual securities expected returns. The weighted average of the individual securities expected returns. The next one is that it uses indifference curves. It uses indifference curves. It uses indifference curves to measure the utility. It uses the indifference curves to measure the utility. To measure the utility of the investor. To measure the utility of the investor, which is not practical. To measure the utility of the investor, which is not practical. Which is not practical. Then the next one is that it assumes that investors are risk averse. it assumes that investors are risk averse. It assumes that investors are risk averse. However, in practice, they are a risk taker. Investors are risk averse. However, in practice, they are risk taker. However, in practice, they are risk taker. The next one is that the market or optimum portfolio. The market or the optimum portfolio. The market or the optimum portfolio is a theoretical portfolio. The market or the optimum portfolio is a theoretical portfolio. A theoretical portfolio since there is no portfolio. Since there is no portfolio, there is no portfolio which can represent. There is no portfolio which can represent all the companies in the industry. There is no portfolio which can represent all the companies in the industry. All the companies in the industry. Then the last one is that it assumes that all the projects, it assumes that all the projects are divisible. It assumes that all the projects are divisible. All the projects are divisible. However, in practice, indivisible projects exists. However, in practice, indivisible projects exists. However, in practice, indivisible projects exists. So the previous point was reading that it was the market or optimum portfolio is a theoretical portfolio since there is no portfolio which can represent all the companies in the industry. There is no portfolio which can represent all the companies in the industry. So that is now what we shall be able to explain as the limitations or disadvantages of the portfolio theory. So there was a question that was tested on that. So it was in the sitting of September 2021. When you go to September 2021, question 1, part A. If you go to September 2021, there is a question number 1, part A. September 2021, there is a question number 1, part A. When you check September 2021, there is a question number 1, part A. So that question 1, part A for September 2021. No, sorry, copy choice. Just obsolete. So when you check that question number 1, part A, they have said that modern portfolio theory applies advanced mathematical models to determine correlation between risks and returns of the investment. While it is commonly used, it does have some potential drawbacks. So those drawbacks are the limitations or disadvantages. They are the limitations or disadvantages. So you are to, in relation to the above statement, examine 6 shortcomings. 6 shortcomings of the modern portfolio theory. 6 shortcomings of the portfolio theory. So that was now the question in relation to that level. That was meant to be the question from that level. So that's now the information that you are to get on that level. So that is meant to be the conclusion in relation to the portfolio theory. But I would like also to do that question B on the same. So let us now go to part B of that September 2021, question 1, part B. So I want us to do that question, but the question is not clear, but there are some key issues I would like you to know about them. There are some key issues I would like you to know about them. So what we do in that part is that they say that Softex Limited is contemplating building a 3-asset portfolio comprising assets for Farm A, Farm B, and C. So the company wishes to invest shillings 5 million in the shares of these funds. So given below are the number of the shares and the current market price per share for each company. The current market price per share for each company. They have given you company A, B, and C. Number of the shares, also current market price per share, also the current market price per share. Then forecasted market price for each share after 1 year and their probability of occurrence in different states of nature are given as in different states of nature are given.
But it's okay.
In different states of nature are given as follows. So they gave you the boom, normal, and what? Recession. So they gave you the probability. So forecasted share price after 1 year. The forecasted share price after 1 year. Then additional information, the correlation coefficient of the returns of the assets are given as follows. So they have given you A and B, A and C, and also B and what? And C. So now required, they are saying that the expected portfolio return. Also, Roman letter 2, they would like you using the mathematical model, compute the portfolio risk. They would like you to compute the portfolio risk. But now the first challenge, this question did not give us returns. Instead, they gave us the share prices. So we need to convert the share prices into the returns. We need to get the percentage returns. So percentage returns, the percentage returns, we need to come up with the percentage returns. So we should come up with the details about the percentage returns. So we should see how to get the percentage returns. So to get the percentage returns, when you want to get the percentage return, it is simply the share price at the end of the year, you minus the share price at the beginning of the year. So the other questions that we have done, they were giving us percentage returns, but this one has given the share prices. So we need to convert those prices into returns. So to get the percentage returns, it will be given by P1 is the price at the end of the year. We minus PO, the price at the beginning of the year. We also divide by PO, then we show it as a percentage. We also divide by PO, then we show it as a percentage. So we shall compute for all the 3 shares. We shall compute for all the 3 shares and also see how we shall be able to express them in form of the percentage. So I will be having share A, share B, and also share C for each state of the economy. The first state of economy, you can see boom. the first state of economy, you are able to give us boom. So under boom, you can see boom for M under the forecasted share price. So boom for M, they gave you how much? 60. So our 60 is the price at the end of the year. So we minus the price at the beginning of the year. So price at the beginning of the year is what they have given you as the current market price per share. So for A, they gave us which figure? So you minus the 50, you also divide by 50, you express it as a percentage. That is now for share A. Then we shall do the same for share B. So share B under boom, you are given 50. You also minus PO is the current market price. You can see for B, they gave us 40. On here 40. You minus 40, you also divide by 40 to show it as a percentage. That is for B. Then when it comes to C, under boom, they have given us 30 what? 36. We also take 36, you subtract. When you check under C up there, they gave us how much? 30. So you minus 30, you also divide by 30, then you show that here as a percentage. That's now for boom. We do the same for normal. We do the same for normal. So normal, it will also be A will be 55. You still minus the 50, also divide by the 15. We show it as a percentage. For B, it is 46. 46 minus 40, also divide by 40. Then we come up with that. The last one is 34. You still minus 30, also divide by 30, also show it as a percentage. The last one is the one for the recession. The first one is meant to be recession. So for recession, you take 48 minus 50. We also divide by 50. Come up with that. There is also 35, also minus 40, also divide by 40. Then the last one is 27, also minus 30, divide by 30. So you get those terms. So once you have finished calculating those percentage returns, we should now come up with what is supposed to be the expected returns for each. We should now get the expected returns for each. We should now be able to get the expected returns for each. We should now compute the expected return for each. So we start by calculating the expected returns for A. So we start by computing expected returns for A. So to get the expected return for A, we take each return of A, multiply by the probability, then you add them together. So that first return for A, this one has given you which percent? So you take 20. So probability of boom, it is 0.3. Then we add the one for normal. What is the return for normal? This one. Here, 10. So you take 10. Probability of it occurring, it is 0.4. The next one is meant to be recession. Here, recession will matter which percent? -4. Probability of it occurring is 0.3. So you add them together like that to give you the expected returns for A. So that we get now the expected returns for A. So that we get the expected returns for A. Then you will also be required to calculate the expected return for B. So the first return for B, you got to 25. So probability for that is 0.3. The second one, you got 20%. 15. So the probability is 0.4. Then the third one, you got which percent? 12.5. -12.5. Also multiply 0.3. So that's now expected return for B. Then it's also expected return for C. We should also calculate the expected return for C. So C, you got which percent? Under boom. So 20 not by 0.3. Then E ingine ni ngapi? 13.3. So not by 0.4. Then this other, the last one was which figure? -10. Not by 0.3. So that will be expected rate return for each one of them. So you get the expected return for each one of them. So that should give you expected return for each one of them, it should be able to give you expected return for each one of them. So once we get the expected returns, because that Roman letter 1, the question had requested you to calculate the expected return for the portfolio. So portfolio is a combination. The portfolio is a combination. So we combine them according to the additional information. We combine them according to the additional information. So from that additional information, you are given some details about A and B, A and C, and also B and what? C. So a portfolio is a combination of investment securities in order to minimize the risk. In order to minimize the risk. So we combine them according to what they have given us at that level. So our first combination should be between A and B. The first combination should be between A and B. So we need to come up with the expected return of the portfolio. So you simply take the weight of A, multiply the expected return for A. Then we add the weight of B, expected return for B. So we are combining them according to the additional information, A and B. So we get the weight for A, then expected return for A, and also the weight for B, and also expected return for B. So to get the weights, we use the total market value. To get the weights, we use the total market value. We use the total market value. So total market value, we start with the A. You can see A, they gave you how many number of the ordinary shares for A. Now, not 50,000. Then you can see the market price per share was how much? 50. So when you take the number of the shares multiplied by 50, we should get which figure. When you take 50,000 multiplied by 50. So it will give you 2.5 million. That is now for A. Then B, you also take the number of the shares. So those number of the shares, they were 32,500. 32,500. But this one you multiply by what? By 40. So it should give us which. So you add them together. Add them together. 3.8. Yeah, so when you are calculating, expected return for the portfolio. So weight for A, you take 2.5 millions, divide by 3.8. That's now the weight for A. You take this, divide by the total. To get the proportion. Then expected return for A is this figure that we calculated. Here, kwanza you put another 8.8. Then we add this other one, it is 1.3 millions. We also divide by 3.8 millions. So we multiply by the expected return for B. So what are we getting as expected return for B? 9.75. So 9.75. So that is now A and B. That is now meant to give us the expected return for portfolio A and B. So we come up with the expected returns of A and B. So after combination of A and B, we go to another combination. The other combination is A and C. So we do the same for A and C. So we also do the same for A and C. So we shall be required to do the same for A and C. A and C, like that. So when it comes to A and C, we also want to calculate the expected return of the portfolio. We get the weight of A, expected return for A, we add the weight of C, expected return of C. So we need to get the total market value. So first we get the total market value. So to get the total market value, so A, we know the number of the shares are 50,000 multiplied by 50. It had given us 2 point what? It was 2.5 million. But now we factor in C. So C, they gave us how many shares? 40,000 shares. The price per share has been given us 30, so that we also get the value. 1.2. So when you add them together, they should give us which 3.7. So we get 3.7. So now to get the expected return of the portfolio. So the weight for A, it is 2.5 million divided by the total, which is 3.7 million. So expected return for M will be given roughly. Sorry? 8.8. Then we add. This alone is 1.2 million. Also 3.7. So what do we get for that one? You had calculated for C, you get expected return on this figure. 8.32. Yeah, so that now will give you the expected returns of that portfolio to be able to give you expected return of that portfolio. So finally, we do the same for the last combination, B and C. So you do the same for the combination B and C. So finally, you also combine B and C. So do the same for combination B and C.
Maybe me that way was already in the position maybe we're gonna just education. Ni hizi ni education. So nimeendelea kwa sababu kesho. Unashika kazi ya kesho ni Hiyo ni kweli. Hiyo ni kweli ya
Sir Charles. No, not Charles. Sir Charles. We are we need to know this. We need to know this.
This is certainly in inventions. One.
hapa now. Even so unless
So that was how to go about the Roman one. Yeah, so the question I said was not clear as per the number of the marks, but the concept is clear. Yeah, so they had not given you the percentage returns. So remember the other questions you are doing, they gave us percentage returns. So when they give you the prices, you convert them into percentage returns. So that is the concept I wanted you to get, how to get the return. If you are given the share price, don't use the share price. It means they have given you another information. When you apply, you get the percentage returns. So that's now the challenge in terms of the marks, but the concept is fine. But the issue was the marks that were awarded, but I am suspecting they adjusted those marks. Yeah, as per the involvement that you are to go through. So now we need to go to the Roman letter 2. So Roman letter 2, they say that using the mathematical model, compute the portfolio risk. You also calculate the portfolio risk for each combination. You also compute the portfolio risk for each combination. So before we do that, we need to get the standard deviation for each one. We need to get the standard deviation for each. So we start by calculating the standard deviation for N. We start off by computing the standard deviation for N. So standard deviation for N. Get the standard deviation for A, we get the summation from the first observation. So each one has 3 of them. So return for A minus expected return for A. Remember, you are supposed to square and multiply the probability. Then you come up with the square root of that. So the first return for A, it was 20. This one here. The first return for A was 20. E expected return will again 8.1. So 8.8 you square. The probability for that is 0.3. Get that here. We go to the next one, which is 10. Also minus 8.8 square. Probability is 0.4. The last one is -4. Also minus 8.8 square. Probability was 0.3. So you get the total, then after getting the total, you now come up with that. So that is now, A is this, these are that. These are now the returns. Expected return is now that. So you square those differences and multiply the probabilities. Then once you get the total, you now get the square root for that. Once you get the total, you now get the square root for that. So that is now for A. We also compute the one for B. We also calculate the standard deviation for B. We also compute the standard deviation for B. We also come up with the standard deviation for B, where you get the summation from the first to the last. There are also three. So return for A, sorry, for B, minus expected return for B. So you square, also multiply by the probability, then we should be able to come up with standard deviation. So the first return for B was 25 minus the expected return for B. The expected return for B was which figure? 9.75. So also square the first one. So I used to get the total, also get the square. So we do the same for C. So you will be required to do the same for C. So expected return for C was 8 points. In terms of content, yeah, because the question was specifically they asked about the so because they asked about the issue, see another one, they were asking the issue of and always talk about that. Solution to fish offer of the West End is the number. So once you have the standard deviation for each, you shall also require the covariance. So you shall also require the covariance. So the covariance for each combination. We should also be required to calculate the covariance for each combination. I will also calculate the covariance for each combination. So the first combination is A and B. So to get the covariance between A and B, because the question gave the correlation coefficient. We just take the correlation coefficient between A and B, multiplied by the standard deviation of A, multiplied by the standard deviation of B. So we also need to get the covariance. So to get the covariance, you remember there's a formula I gave you, then we make the covariance with the subject. So we come up to that. So like now for this one, the correlation coefficient is 0.98. 0.98. So what are you getting as the standard deviation for there? 9.35. Then what are you getting as the standard deviation for B? 15.1. 15.1. So that will give you the covariance between A and B. The covariance between A and B. These are just standard deviation with patterns. The standard deviation for A was 9.35, for B it was 15.1. So you multiply. Tumepewa hizo tumepatiwa at the end of the question. You see, they are saying that the correlation coefficient. Yeah. So that's why I'm calculating them according to the combination. Yeah. Then we will also calculate the covariance. The covariance between A and C. So it is also correlation coefficient between A and C. What for the standard deviation for A, also what for the standard deviation for C. So that correlation coefficient is 0.76. So standard deviation for A is 9.35. How about the one for C? Finally, you will also calculate the covariance between B and C. So correlation coefficient B and C, more for the standard deviation for B, also more for the standard deviation for C. Even for this one, it is 1 multiplied by the standard deviation for B, 3.14. 1 for C is So once you have done that, now we can get the risk of each combination. So it is the same as the actual standard deviation for the portfolio. So once you have completed those, we shall now be calculating the risk for each combination. So the first one is the one for A and B. A and B. So the actual risk is the same as the actual standard deviation for the portfolio. The actual risk is the same as the actual standard deviation for the portfolio. So you get the weight of A squared, the variance of A. We also add the weight of B squared, the variance of B. Then we add 2 multiplied by the weight of A, the weight of B. Then covariance between A and B. Then you remember it was this one. So if you want to get that portfolio risk, you get the weight for A squared, then the variance for A. Then you also add the weight for B squared, the variance for B. We also add 2 multiplied by the weight for A, multiplied by the weight for B, and also the covariance between A and B. So I want us to go back to the Roman letter 1. Unakumbuka the weight for A in that combination. Ilikuwa which figure divided by which figure? It was 2.5 divided by 2.5 divided by 3.7. Yeah, so it is good to use those figures. So the weight for A is 2.0 divided by 3 points. Yeah. So you remember the number of the shares multiplied by the market price per share. When it was the combination for A and B, the add. Your total. Then now the proportion for A from that combination was 2.5 divided by the total. Remember that part? Yeah. So you're the weight for A in this combination. And now, so if that part you square, that part is square. You see this one? The weight for A square. So that's why also square. Then you remember the standard deviation for A. You know to say 9.35. So this one is also square. So here I'm only giving the concept because the question had no logic in terms of answer. But I want to do it for you to get the concept from that question. And then we also need the weight for B. So it was what divided by what? Sorry? 1.3. 1.3. But they're not 1.3. Divided by 3.8. So this figure is also square. Then multiply by. So multiply by. Here you need to come back with the standard deviation for B. 15.14. So here so this one is that, this one is that. Then also now add E naught. So when you add that region, it will be 2 multiplied by 2.5 divided by 3.8, also multiplied by 1.3 divided by 3. So the covariance you got which one? Sorry? 138.73. So that's total. So I'm not doing any, I will not do the other one, but I'm only showing you how to spend time. Because that was not actually as planned. So the question was from S here, but the S here they were given that much because of the command certification. But now someone did not adjust it. So the question from S here, but it was not months. It is a complex. But someone lifted the question to CPA, not to make an adjustment. But now at least you see the concept on our side. So the other one, I will not do the one because you already now know this one. Because the question was not realistic up to that point as per the marks given. Doesn't have to one James, but so they do adjustment, but now from the student mind of view, when you are doing the exams, you know it was only 10 marks. So even if they are adjusted, you have already switched off because you do all those workings for those fewer marks. So that was now a normal challenge. But for now, I've given you the concept. Yeah, so that's now the conclusion of the portfolio theory. So our next part of the topic will be the capital asset pricing model. Our next part of the topic will be the capital asset pricing model. So the capital asset pricing model. The capital asset pricing model. So our next part of the topic will be the capital asset pricing model as CAPM. So that's now what we shall start on tomorrow because the time remaining will not allow me to do much for that. We have like 8 minutes remaining, so we can stop there for now.